Well, Chris, welcome to the show, man. It's great to visit with you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, where are you joining us from?
Well, right now I'm in Dewey Beach, Delaware for the National Assembly of Sportsmen Caucuses meeting.
Okay.
I flew out this morning. I got up at 3:30 and drove to the airport and caught a flight and then drove from Baltimore to here. There's no easy way to get here.
Oh, right on. Well, thanks for doing that for us, for all of us.
Yeah, sure.
So, what are you, generally speaking, what is your job description with SCI?
So I'm the Western State and Local Liaison, which means I do government affairs across the West. I'm based in Kansas City on the Kansas side, and spent the last 22 years before I came to SCI as the working for the wildlife agency there.
Okay. Right on.
So
Yeah.
parlay my familiarity with Western stuff
Uh-huh.
into this job. So
Well, and that's what I want to talk about today. Um, Colorado seems intent on becoming California's little brother. Like everything California does, Colorado's like, oh yeah, we should do that. Like when it comes to wildlife management. California banned cougar hunting in the mid 90s. Then I think it was like 2011, 2012. They came along and said, no more black bear and bobcat hunting with hounds. That's bad. You can't do that. And then a couple years ago, they just said, no more bobcat hunting, period. It's a protected species now. No science to support it. Colorado, in their infinite wisdom, voted to reintroduce wolves, which that's happening. They let the general population have control of that, and it barely passed. I am concerned that they're about to do the same thing with mountain lions. I think the entire hunting community feels the same way. History says when given control of the vote, the people are going to do the wrong thing. They just did it. What are you seeing as far as people on the inside talking about how they think this is going to play out?
all right. So like I said, I cover the West. My busy states
Uh-huh.
are Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado,
Right.
New Mexico, right? Uh, Actually, California's kind of taking the back seat in this whole game to Washington State.
Right.
Colorado's next in line. So,
I saw
um,
this funny meme the other day of all these hippies dancing around a campfire on a beach, and it said actual footage of the Washington Game Commission meeting.
yes. So the Washington Game Commission, Fish and Wildlife, difficult scenario in Washington right now.
Yeah.
Colorado's still savable.
Uh-huh.
So there are two petitions. One just got reintroduced right before Thanksgiving in Colorado on the same topic. So the first one was just talk about the subject generally. Mountain lions, bobcats, lynx were petitioned to ban hunting and trapping at the commission level. That failed. Then the proponents went to the legislature, and that failed. And so now they're taking it to the voters because they think they're emboldened by the wolf reintroduction ballot measure that passed by 12,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
So do I think it's beatable? Yes. I think Colorado is still a winnable state. So that now they've introduced one petition or got one petition written up that would ban bobcats, lynx, and we know lynx are federally endangered and we can't hunt and trap them anyway.
Right.
And then not lions. And also in Colorado, you can't use leg hold traps. It's all box traps. So really what they're banning would be box trapping. So they're trying to shut down hunting. That's essentially what it boils down to. So the first petition was filed, and then SCI is part of a coalition of folks who are challenging this petition and the issue. And Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management, Dan Gates, leads that, and he's really taken a lead role in this process and challenged the ballot language, the title language at the title board. And it talks about trophy hunting, and and if you read down into the ballot measure, it actually says that all hunting is trophy hunting, essentially.
Yeah, we don't need it. No.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're trying to use the language of trophy hunting to mean it's bad and therefore it should all be banned because it's all trophy hunting.
Mm-hmm.
So at the title board, the coalition and the folks opposing it were successful in getting trophy hunting stricken from the title, and then that's since then has been appealed to the Supreme Court, and so of Colorado, and so they have to rule on that issue, and I think the briefs are due around the 18th of December.
So that's massive, and I just want to explain, like, if the term trophy plays on people's emotions, right? It's
absolutely.
So for the uneducated person, the casual Coloradan, just like lives in Denver, maybe they go hiking a little bit, enjoy their granola, they move to the mountains, yada yada yada. Like, they don't know what that means, trophy hunting. They just assume that all hunters are out there. It paints us as people that just go out and shoot stuff for the head, or the antlers or whatever. Which we all know. I'm just gonna say it. I'm a trophy hunter. I could give a crap. But a trophy is more than just the headgear. It's the food. It's the experience. We've had to kind of distance because they've made it this nasty word that it isn't. And initially, if you go back, just say 2 decades ago, the term trophy hunter meant, and it still means, that I'm hunting the oldest, most mature male of the species, who's, he's already sown his wild oats. This is the right animal to take from a population management perspective. But they don't care about that, and now they've turned what was something good into something nasty. And so it plays on the heartstrings of the average Coloradan, like I was just saying. It's not really invested, probably doesn't really care one way or the other. But when you say trophy and you tug on their heartstrings, they're going to say, no, we shouldn't do that, right? I mean, so to get this taken out, to get this stricken from the title, is paramount. I mean, we absolutely have to do it. If we don't do that, I don't know how we win.
I think that's a big victory for sure.
Yeah.
In that, so that's going on, but at the same time, right before on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving at 4:27 in the afternoon, they filed the second petition, and this one's a lot more succinct. And also, again, the idea is just to shut down all hunting. But the second petition actually has a 2-week window where you could hunt December 17th or something like that to January 31st. So, it's a much more calculated petition, in my opinion. And so that now has to go through that same process. So there'll be, the title board, and then challenge that. And then it'll probably go to the Supreme Court again once it gets done. So who knows? I don't know what petition they're going to ultimately end up with, but now there's a 2-prong approach.
So at what point, or where does Colorado Parks and Wildlife fit into this? Because I'll be honest with you, when this whole wolf thing was going on, I called them multiple times, got a hold of their press secretary, and she said, well, we're not commenting on it. And I said, oh, so there's a gag order. And she goes, no, we're just not commenting. And I said, well, the last time that they tried to pass this wolf thing, your department was out in front of it and said, that's a bad idea. Why aren't you doing that right now? And she goes, we just aren't commenting. I said, oh, so there's a gag order. And basically there was a gag order, and someone had told them they weren't allowed to comment. Now,
so there's a state law in Colorado that says that there's state law in Colorado that says they can't comment on ballot measures. Yeah. So the agency is constrained by law.
So gag order, basically.
It is. Yes, it's a state gag order, but you can say that, and if you want to throw the legislature under the bus for passing that rule, or we're just not going to comment, versus the governor. You don't want to throw your governor under the bus too, or whatever your response is. So I understand why she said that, but the law is the law, and they can't comment on a ballot measure.
Well, historically, so they have basically nothing to do with this. Like, they have taken what they pay to manage the wildlife, and they have said, you know what, you guys go ahead and see yourself out. We don't need you as a part of this deal.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, how much sense does that make?
It doesn't make any sense at all. I think so. You have people who have decades of experience in managing wildlife, and they're not allowed to say anything.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
yeah. I actually killed a mountain lion in Colorado, 2016 or 17 ish. We did 3 hunts um, over 3 years, and we caught some females, and we were trying to get a big tom. We let them go. I'd come back the next year with the same outfitter, and finally we ended up killing a female. And I've told this story on the air, but it was because this cat had started killing this dude's horses, and he was like, "Hey, I don't know if it's a male or female, but it's killed 2 of my foals. When you catch it, if you catch it, please fix, take care of the problem for me." So that cat wasn't going to stop killing livestock once it started. So it was a problem animal. But there were plenty of mountain lions, and that's the other thing, that the average the person that's falling victim to that term trophy, they probably don't realize the strict seasons, quotas, different units. Once you reach x amount of cats, or if a couple females get killed, well, then they close it down. It's very tightly managed. I think that certainly needs to be a part of our messaging, right? Like going forward, that hey, it's not all willy nilly. You can't just go out there and just uh, you know kill cats until you're blue in the face.
Right, right. I think, you know, people who can speak though are retired biologists. They'll have credibility, because they've been in that system, and they're also not constrained by state law, like the agency personnel are. So that's one option. I'm a former agency person. I'm not a biologist. I'm a lawyer by training, but I spent 2 decades plus in wildlife management. And so that people like me, or actually the biologists, not just, but just former agency personnel, that they can bring credibility to that conversation.
Yeah. Well, so what is your honest opinion, though? I mean, you said you think Colorado is salvageable. If we weren't able, if we, so is it a finalized deal? Trophy's out. They can't use the term, or is at the Supreme Court where they could say, yeah, we might allow it, we might not. Like,
Right. It's at the Supreme Court. And so
okay.
I don't know what they're going to do. And then there's the second petition. And so from here, assuming the second petition gets challenged to the Supreme Court, you're talking about a decision in January, and then I think they have to gather signatures over, like, it's got to be all finalized by March, and then the signature gathering, and then you get it on the ballot and vote in November. So when I say it's salvageable, there's a lot of steps in this process to have challenges and to do messaging. So I do think that Colorado is not lost on this issue. You look at wolves, and it passed by 12,000 votes. I don't know where that started because I wasn't with SCI at the time, but that's a pretty negligible number, really. And
Yeah, it was like by 1% or something.
yeah, it's like a tenth of a percent, right? I mean, 9/10 of a percent or something. It was real low number, right? So if you can influence in that process and get your messaging out, I think it's still salvageable if it gets to the ballot. Presumably they'll get signatures.
I think they'll get the signatures. I mean,
Right.
you get all the anti-hunting activist groups involved, and they're going to reach out to their constituents. They're going to get the signatures. I don't doubt that they will get that. So I think it will go to the ballot. It's up to us. I think this is the biggest fight that we are facing, certainly in this election cycle, possibly in the last 4 or 5 years, because if it does pass, just the precedent that it sets, that they kind of already said it with wolves, but it was such a narrow victory. But if they can go back to the well again, then like other states are going to be like, yeah, we're going to do that too. What's preventing us from doing that? Washington State, I think, has similar ballot initiative stuff in their history. But I don't know. I think it's a very scary reality that we could just be saying, all these biologists that we pay, we don't need them. We're going to just let the populations manage the wildlife. And then we all know what the outcome is. The wildlife loses. We all lose. Animals lose. hunters lose, conservationists lose. I don't know. It's
You can't not
mind-blowing to
manage
me.
wildlife.
Maddening. Is it not maddening that they can't understand that? Like, if you don't manage them, they lose.
Right.
Like, it's
I
infuriating.
think that this is different than Colorado wolves, though. So reintroduction, when you look at reintroduction numbers and restoring endangered species, public support's like not in the 90 percentile, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so hunting generally is in the 80 percentile, right? 75 to 80%, 85, depending on the year. Trophy hunting, that number's low, right? So it's a misunderstanding. I shot a doe yesterday. I got up yesterday, drove an hour and a half, went to a public area, shot a doe in Kansas, cleaned it, skinned it, brought it home, cut it up, and that's a trophy, right? I enjoyed, that's my trophy. It's the first deer I've shot this year, maybe the only deer I shot this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't like antlers. It's the feeling of having gone out and got some food for myself.
Right. Yeah.
And I think so there's that messaging too, in addition, when you talk about trophies. So trophy hunting, though, just generally, if you said that to the average person, what do they think that is? It's shooting some big antlered deer or, an African
species.
Right, with tusks, and then also a misperception that people have that the meat or the rest of the animal's wasted. Just because you trophy hunt doesn't mean that the animal's not utilized in its entirety.
The meat's part of the trophy. Like, I mean, we ate that mountain lion. It was great. And I always said I only wanted to kill one mountain lion. No, that lasted for about 5 years. I love going with the dogs, and I want to do it again. Like, I want to get the big Tom. I really do. I think maybe after that, I'd probably still go if someone else wanted to hunt. But I don't know. Maybe I'm full of crap because I love chasing those hounds through the mountains. It's the dogs, the way the dogs love it. I mean, it's just the same as my lab that loves to fetch ducks, and the appeal of hunting with any kind of four-legged is, I think that's why I fell in love with hunting to begin with. And I highly recommend if you haven't had that experience, then maybe put it on your bucket list soon, because all across the West, they're trying to take that experience away from us.
Right. That's true. I have not hunted cats, and I'd like to go mountain lion hunting, but my wife actually wants to go more than I do.
That's awesome.
And she's pretty excited about that. So we just haven't figured that out yet. We're making it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So they've got to push this through. They've got to get the signatures, which I assume they will do, and then we, as a hunting community, conservation community, we have to, I think, dig deeper than ever and try to collectively get the messaging out there that, hey, we can't because where's the tipping point? Once they get the toe like in the door, they're going to kick it down, right? I mean, that's the goal. It isn't about cats in Colorado, ultimately, to them.
Right. I mean, it's going all the way.
Yeah. So this is a big one. I think very important, and it won't be the last time that we talk about this. I guarantee you that on this show, and we'll probably have you back on as the situation changes. It is fluid leading up to the ballot initiative in November. So I appreciate you jumping on and shedding some light on this thing. And I'm assuming you're going to be I know you'll be in Nashville in February, so we'll get to shake hands there, and looking forward to that, meeting you there as well.
Yep, me too. Nashville's going to be great.
Yeah, it was awesome last year. It's going to be even better this year.
Yeah, it was
Chris,
fantastic.
I look forward to meeting you then. Have a great rest of the season. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, Cable.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.